Who is really in control of college sports? For 40 years, that simple question has perplexed some really smart people who have analyzed the big time college sports regulatory and business models. As a consequence of the 1984 Board of Regents decision by the United States Supreme Court, which granted big time football its financial freedom from the NCAA's monopoly over televised football, NCAA governance has been defined by an absence of accountability and transparency, with stakeholders pointing the finger at other stakeholders. The reality of the post-Board of Regents regulatory dysfunction in college sports is that the NCAA has become nothing more than a front organization for Power 5 football interests. While the NCAA continues to claim that its governance process operates as a representative democracy, the invisible hand of big-time football's power and influence is always lurking behind the NCAA administrative veil. In 1997, when postseason football was transitioning from the Bowl Alliance format to the Bowl Championship Series format, Congress held hearings on the anti-competitive effects of the new format that excluded schools not in a big-time football conference. This was essentially a battle between the haves and have-nots in college football. The NCAA dispatched NCAA President Cedric Dempsey to front for big-time football interests. Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky asked Dempsey who was in charge of decision-making issues on college football at the NCAA. An exasperated and confused McConnell concluded that the decision-making process dominated by the haves didn't pass the smell test.
That leads me to the question I really want to ask you, which is, who are the people who make the decision? And I'm one of those people who's a little confused about the relationship between the alliance on the one hand, Mr. Kramer's representing, and the NCAA on the other hand, which you are representing. As the NCAA considers its future with reference to postseason football, who is that? Are those the presidents? Are those the athletic directors? How many of the people who are making that decision represent the 40% excluded class that are unable to aspire to greatness today? Who makes that decision? So the membership of the group that makes the decision about the future of college football consists of a majority who benefit from the current system, and that could only be overridden by a vote of the general membership, and it would require a supermajority of 5/8 to do that.
That is true.
Mr. Dempsey, would that pass the smell test? If you were trying to explain to Coach Cooper and to Richard Peace the fairness of that, would that be an easy thing for you to do?
Football's invisible stranglehold on college sports regulation is even more extreme today. Then in 2014, the Power 5 dispatched NCAA President Mark Emmert to Congress to make the case for Power 5 autonomy classification that granted the Power 5 the authority to legislate independently of the NCAA governance process. Emmert dutifully acted as a human shield for the Power 5. Importantly, no Power 5 conference commissioner or university president testified. Channeling McConnell from 1997, Senator Claire McCaskill offered perhaps the most accurate and compelling observations of the confusing relationship between the NCAA and the Power 5 conferences.
I think that my sense, and I have a lot of questions about transparency of money and about whether or not things are made public. I feel for you, because in part of me thinks you're captured by those that you're supposed to regulate, but then you're supposed to regulate those that you're captured by. And I can't tell whether you're in charge or whether you're a minion to them. I don't sense that you feel like you have any control over this situation. And if you have no control, if you're merely a monetary pass-through, why should you even exist?
Senator Jay Rockefeller, who chaired the Senate committee, astutely observed that the regulatory confusion was purposeful because it obscured Power 5 control over all aspects of college sports.
See, what I perceive is a web of convenient protection from to all parties. Earlier you said that there are a number of universities that want to make a certain number of changes, which you then enumerated, 3 or 4 of them. But then you've also said that you don't have the authority to do anything. You don't have a vote, which you said here. Everything is in the hands of the universities. My cynical self says that universities like things exactly the way they are because they're making a ton of money. How do you make the case for saying that you can be a participant in this process of bringing about change when you say that they don't have to listen to anything you say. I think that the system is rigged so that you are separated from the possibilities of getting something done. I don't think you have the power, and I think it's constructed for that purpose. I'm cynical about it.
In 2018, the NCAA's own Commission on College Basketball released its final report after the college basketball scandal that resulted in criminal prosecutions in New York. Commission Chair Condoleezza Rice cut to the heart of NCAA regulatory dysfunction, describing college sports decision-making as a circular firing squad.
The Commission found that talking to the stakeholders was at times like watching a circular firing squad. The problem, the issue, and ultimately the fault was always the problem of someone else. We are also recommending several steps to address the actual root cause of the problem: governance and leadership lapses among many who were charged with protecting the best interest of student athletes. These are the people who are most responsible for giving these young men a chance to achieve a college education and a college degree. And frankly, some have given in instead to incentives to win at all costs.
Today, the disguised college sports decision-making process is even more dishonest, with the Big Ten and SEC co-opting it through the Big Ten SEC Advisory Group. They're deciding the future of college sports in secret meetings entirely outside the NCAA governance structures. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey defended the advisory group's work, saying big problems are not solved in big rooms filled with people. You have to narrow the focus a bit. There may be raised eyebrows. Wow. The pattern continues, with NCAA President Charlie Baker now fronting for big-time college football interests in Congress.
And we put forward a proposal that we called Project D1 that would create a new subdivision to allow America's biggest college athletic departments to provide enhanced educational benefits and to enter directly into NIL licensing agreements with student athletes. That initial proposal is currently being further developed by the Division I Council.
Maybe Congress should demand honest, transparent answers from the NCAA and now the Power II before it places them on the iron throne of college sports regulation with the powers of the federal government. Follow DYK for more.